Hello everyone, and welcome to the second video in a series of videos I'm doing where I'm looking back at the year 2020 and the games that I played. In this video I'm going to be talking about the 10 worst games that I learned in 2020. Again, these aren't games that came out last year. These are games that I played for the first time last year that just for whatever reason didn't quite work for me. So let's jump right in. The first game at number 10 is a game that came out in 2010, and it's a game that I was very excited to try, and I still actually have a lot of high hopes for it if I can get a chance to play it again. And that is Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space. This is a hidden movement game, but it's very light, almost party-style hidden movement game. Everyone has dry erase boards of an alien spaceship, and if you're the human players, you're trying to escape to the escape pods, and if you are the aliens, you are trying to eat the humans. I do think that I would really love this game. The big problem I had with this game last year was I only was able to play it with 3 players. And I really feel this game needs more players to make it more even between the teams, to keep that tension up so that it's not so dry and boring just trying to find one other person. So I do have a lot of high hopes for this. I only played about 45 games last year, new games that I tried, so there had to be 10 that were on the bottom, and this just happened to be one of them. Moving on to my next game is another hidden movement game. Now remember, hidden movement games are one of my favorite genres. So I was very excited to try this game when I heard about it, and I'd actually heard some good reviews. But unfortunately it didn't quite work for me, and that is Nuns on the Run. Now Nuns on the Run it's got beautiful art, it's got a cool theme. Several players play as these novice nuns, and they are trying to escape from their bedroom late at night to do some sort of secret mission or goal, whether it's to sneak to the kitchen for a dessert, maybe go to the library for some reading. And then there are these older nuns, these teachers, if you will, who are patrolling the convent, and if they catch you, they'll send you right back to your room. So lighthearted game, fun theme, it had some nice art, so I was very excited to try this game. However, my big complaint that really just pushed this game down for me was the line of sight rules. In this game, when you move to a space as those novice nuns, and you're like, okay, I'm on space 62. When the teacher nuns, the older nuns go, and they say, okay, can I see anybody in this room? You have to be like, well, can they see my space? Is number 62 in line of sight? Does this bush cover that? Am I close enough to this wall that it doesn't count? The game even comes with a cross-reference chart, so you can like, okay, number 12 can't see number 3. Like, it's just too much going on for what should be a very light-hearted, fun, hidden movement game. I would really like to see this game reprinted, cleaning up that mess of line of sight, and I think this game would be a lot better. So that's my number 9, Nuns on the Run. Moving on down the list is a game that did come out in 2020, and this is by Cyanide and Happiness, and this is Trial by Trolley. Trial by Trolley is a fun little party game where you are playing as this trolley driver, and each player is trying to persuade you not to go down their track. So one team might be playing a bunch of innocent cards like, no, don't drive the trolley down here, you can't kill these innocent people. But then you're also allowed to play bad cards on other people's trolley tracks and say, well, okay, yes, you can drive down their track and maybe you'll hurt someone innocent, but you'll kill this very evil person. And so you're trying to tempt the judge or the trolley driver to go down the other person's track. The game actually works. It's lighthearted. It's got a fun theme. It's kind of jokey. There's just not much of a game there. It's more of just a social interaction experience. And that's fine if that's what you're looking for. But it did end up on my list of 10 games that didn't quite hit me in 2020. So that's Trial by Trolley, my number 8. Moving on to number 7 is a game that came out in 2014, and this game is pretty beloved by a lot of people. It has a lot of good reviews, a lot of people talk about it online that they enjoy this game, and that is Trekking the National Parks. Trekking the National Parks comes off or advertises itself as almost a very similar game to Ticket to Ride, where you are collecting sets of cards to try to move around this map of the United States. And once you collect these sets and move around, you can then claim these national parks that you visited in and that you camped in them to get some points. And once you've collected enough of these national park cards, you win the game. I got this game for my family because we had done some hiking the previous year, and I thought this would be a fun game to play as a group to kind of relive some of those memories. However, this game was a big miss for us. There wasn't enough strategic depth to this game for someone who's more of a gamer, but even for someone who's not that much of a gamer, the pacing is just so slow in this game. It takes forever to collect sets of cards. It takes forever to move your meeple around the board. So there just wasn't enough going on, and there wasn't enough of a payoff in this game for me to really like it. So that's number 7, Trekking the National Parks. Moving on to my number 6 game is a game that came out in 2008, and it's a game I had never heard of. I saw this game sealed at a flea market for $5, and I thought I'm going to take a chance on it, and so I picked it up, and it is called Horus. Horus is a tile-laying game set in an Egyptian theme where basically you are building the Nile and you are building different regions of land around the Nile. And as you are putting out these tiles, you're claiming them. And if you have the most of your tokens on these different colored tiles, then you get the points for that region. I enjoy tile-laying games. It was cheap, $5 at a flea market. I thought couldn't go wrong, but unfortunately there's just not a lot of game here. The tiles, the art isn't good. The bonuses you get for collecting these groups doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. The tile placement's really weird, how you line them up. You're trying to circle these islands with this river to double the points, but you're not getting enough cards to really buy these tiles. There's just a lot of misses in this game. It doesn't flow very smoothly, and so honestly, it's a game I'm probably not going to play again. So that was my number 6, Horus. Moving on to my number 5 is a game that came out in 1999 by Ryan Knizia, one of my favorite designers. I'd played the board game version of this game, so I was excited to try the card game, but it did not work for me, and that is Lost Cities. Lost Cities, the card game, is very popular. A lot of people out there like it, but this game broke my mind, and I cannot play it again. I got this game to play with my stepson. We like these 2-player card games. Basically, all you're trying to do is collect sets of different colors and create runs of numbers in order on your side of the board. However, if you don't complete your set, then you aren't going to get negative points instead. So it's very risky to try to go into these sets. I lost this game 3 times in a row, horribly, to my stepson, and so I never want to play this one again. Just didn't work for me, but again, it does have a pretty big following, and that is Lost Cities. My number 4 game that I tried last year for the first time is a dexterity game called Flick 'em Up. This game came out in 2015, I think. I'm not a big fan of dexterity games like this. I've played the Catacomb series of games where you're flicking around your hero through dungeons or protecting a castle. What I didn't like about those games was everybody has special powers and you have to pay attention to a lot of edge case rules. One good thing I will say about Flick 'em Up is it is very simply just a flicking game. It's just cowboys on the street flicking bullets at each other, trying to knock each other over. And for that, it works. I'm glad I have it in my collection for that reason, because it is a very simple dexterity flicking game. However, I just know now that this is not a style of game that I really enjoy. But if someone wanted to play this kind of game, I guess Flick 'em Up would be a bridge, a happy medium that I could play and enjoy. But overall, not a game that impressed me too much. That is Flick 'em Up, my number 4. My number 3 game I tried last year that didn't work for me is based off the popular Netflix series Black Mirror, and this is Black Mirror Nosedive. Came out in 2018. Now, this is based off the episode of Black Mirror where everyone has their iPhones, and basically your rating on this social media app dictates things you can do in this TV show. So in this game, When I went over to my friend's house and they pulled it out, we read the rules. I was actually pretty excited to try it. It was an app-based game as well, where you are picking options that you think your friends would like to do. So on the surface, I thought this sounded really fun, kind of a social game, get to know your friends, try to guess what situations they would prefer to have happen to them. However, the questions in the app just did not work good for this game, unfortunately. A lot of times you would get many options that were a mix of good and bad. So we played a 3-player game, and I would get 2 options. One was horrible and one was wonderful. However, I had to assign one to one player and the other to the second player. Well, I know the second player is not going to want to do that horrible one, but the app forces you to split these choices up between the other players. And so this game was a huge miss for me because I didn't want to assign bad things to someone that I know would pick the better option, but you had no choice. So every round just felt like I was losing points because the game was forcing me to lose points. So big miss for me. Black Mirror Nosedive, my number 3. Moving on to my number 2 game that just didn't hit for me is a game that came out in 2017, and this is called Cat Chaos, the card game. This is a game actually quite similar to Pit, where you are trying to collect sets of cards, and the first person that can complete so many sets wins. I think this would actually be a fine casual game to maybe play at a bar or something. Unfortunately, I was able to play this with 2 players, and I think that really hurt the game, although it probably still would have appeared on this 10 worst games I tried. But basically what you're doing is you have a hand of cards, these different cats, and in the middle of the table are several face-up cats, and you are trying to collect, I think, sets of 3. So if you're trying to collect all the red cats, maybe you have 2 in your hand, so you'll pick up that red cat from the table, and then you'll replace it with a different card from your hand. And so you're kind of going back and forth like this, exchanging cards from your hand and the table. Other players are doing that too, and hopefully you'll be the first person to collect 3 sets of 3 or something like that. It was fun. It was enjoyable for the time I played it. However, I don't think this is a game I'm going to want to go back to. Just wasn't enough of a game there. Might be really good for kids. That was my number 2, Cat Chaos. Last game on my list, the worst game that I tried in 2020 is a game that originally came out in 2005, but they've been releasing editions pretty much every year for the last 10 years, and that is Rory's Story Cubes. And the only reason this game really shows up on the bottom is because it's not a game. There are rules and there are ways to get points, and there is a way to give someone, crown them the winner. However, that's really not the point of the game, and in my experience playing this, nobody cares about that. What this game is you're rolling some dice that have some pictures or some words on them, and after you've rolled the dice, you are supposed to put them in order of your choosing to tell a story. And that's it. That's the game. And of course, best story wins or things like that, but that's really not the point of the game. I think this is a fine social game. It's a way to get people talking and conversing. Maybe you're waiting for your food at a restaurant or just hanging out at a bar. And so you could pull these out, roll some dice, tell funny stories, and have a good time. But unfortunately, this is on my list of the worst game I played last year, basically because, in my opinion, it's not a game. It's just a social activity. So there it is. There is my top 10 worst games that I tried in 2020. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my video talking about the 10 best games I tried in 2020. And thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what video or what games you tried in 2020 that didn't quite work for you. Or maybe there's some games on this list that you love and I should revisit them. Let me know. Thanks for watching.